Michael Jordan has officially entered the conversation, and he is not holding anything back. After a heated live TV clash involving LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal, Jordan finally broke his silence with a firm message aimed directly at LeBron. In early 2026, LeBron James made comments that sent shockwaves through the entire basketball world. He was accused of disrespecting NBA legends like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and others by calling parts of their era soft. At 41 years old, in his 23rd NBA season, LeBron had reached a point where he felt comfortable speaking openly about his place in basketball history. In a detailed ESPN profile by Dave McMenamin, LeBron gave some of his honest thoughts yet on the endless GOAT debate between him and Michael Jordan. And he made it clear he sees himself and Jordan as completely different types of players that shouldn't even be forced into direct comparison. But LeBron didn't stop there. He also spoke about what he believes he does better than Jordan, and even compared himself against players from every era before him, and the old guard heard every single word. LeBron James later commented on an Instagram post saying there's a clear difference between constructive criticism and soft hating, adding that most criticism from former players is actually hate. That was the spark. That was the fuel. That was the explosion. Whether intentional or not, LeBron had essentially labeled an entire generation of NBA legends as bitter and insecure toward the modern game. Shaquille O'Neal then confronted LeBron over comments that many felt were aimed at him and Charles Barkley. Shaq, who once played alongside LeBron during the 2009-2010 season with the Cleveland Cavaliers, took those remarks personally because Shaq has spent years on Inside the NBA giving his honest takes on the modern era, some praise, some criticism, including opinions on LeBron's legacy, and now LeBron was calling that soft hating. Rumors of a tense tunnel confrontation between Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James quickly spread across the NBA world. The details remain unclear and heavily debated, but what is certain is that two of the biggest names in basketball were now publicly at odds, and the internet ran with it instantly. What made the situation even more explosive was that LeBron didn't just target Shaq, he questioned an entire mindset that the old generation had built its identity around, and one of the strongest defenders of that mindset was about to respond. Not Shaq, not Charles Barkley, not Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. To understand why Shaq took those comments so personally, you have to understand what he values most in basketball. Fear. Not stats, not skill, not longevity, but fear. The kind of fear that makes players question stepping onto the court in the first place. The kind of fear that makes an opposing point guard change his driving lane because he already knows what's waiting at the rim. The kind of fear that defined the eras of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal himself.
Mario Chalmers also backed up that idea, saying he got criticized heavily when he first said it, and he added, "I didn't think players really feared LeBron like they did Jordan. It's not that you shouldn't fear Bron, it's just that he's been through so much, he wanted to be liked." And that last part, he wanted to be liked, hit like a knockout punch. Because in the old guard's mindset, wanting to be liked was seen as a weakness. Michael Jordan didn't care if you liked him. Kobe Bryant definitely didn't care if you liked him. Shaq dominated people and laughed about it afterward. So the idea that LeBron, who sits at the top of nearly every statistical category in NBA history, wanted approval more than fear, that, to Shaq, was the real dividing line between greatness and being the greatest. Shaquille O'Neal later explained one of the key reasons why he doesn't place LeBron above Jordan or Kobe in the all-time debate. The four-time champion has played with and against all three legends, even sharing locker rooms with Bryant and James during his career. That gave him a rare perspective that most analysts simply don't have. He saw firsthand how teams reacted when Jordan walked in. He saw Kobe's cold, focused intensity before playoff games, and he noticed something different when LeBron entered the arena. Respect, admiration, even awe, but not that same overwhelming fear factor. Shaquille O'Neal rarely holds back, especially on Inside the NBA, where his honesty is part of the show. But this time, that honesty sounded almost like protection, because underneath the criticism was still a level of respect. During All-Star discussions, Shaq even said, "I don't want to see the king coming off the bench. I spared the king. Thank you for what you've done, but I do not want to see him coming off the bench." That's the paradox of their relationship. He's defending LeBron's image while also challenging his legacy at the same time. Two figures who clearly respect each other but completely disagree on what defines greatness. So, when LeBron called retired players soft haters, Shaq took it personally, not just as criticism of his opinion, but as a challenge to everything he believes basketball is supposed to represent. While LeBron and Shaq were trading shots through Instagram captions, podcast clips, and media appearances, the man both of them measured themselves against was sitting back, watching in silence. Michael Jordan, 63 years old, retired for over 2 decades, remains the center of every GOAT debate, and now he was finally about to make his presence felt. The greatest of all time debate has always been one of the most talked about arguments in basketball, but one of the main names in that conversation, Michael Jordan himself, has never seemed too interested in feeding into it. "The whole GOAT thing is not something I get too high or too low about," he told NBC's Mike Tirico during his MJ Insights to Excellence segment. On the surface, that sounds calm and diplomatic. Jordan is taking the high road and stepping away from the noise. But if you listen closely, there's more behind his words than they first appear. Jordan went on to explain how he sees the evolution of the game. "We paved the road for Kobe and LeBron," he said, emphasizing how each generation builds on the last. And then he added the key point, that you can't use the evolution of the game against the players who helped build it in the first place. That was the message underneath everything. Jordan never directly called out LeBron, but he didn't have to. Everyone understood exactly who the message was aimed at. The point was sharp and calculated. Respect the path, don't use it to diminish those who created it.
Jordan even added that he would have loved to compete against LeBron and Kobe in his prime, and in doing so, he subtly reinforced his own confidence, implying he would have thrived in that matchup. The 6-time champion also stated that the GOAT label doesn't really exist in his eyes, and he argued that comparing different eras only creates unnecessary tension among players. In another sit-down interview, Jordan made it clear he has no personal animosity toward today's stars, but he acknowledged that many retired players feel a sense of frustration about how the modern game is discussed, and that admission alone seemed to validate Shaq's stance without Jordan ever directly repeating it. It highlighted the disconnect between generations, where modern criticism is often heard as disrespect by those who built the foundation. Jordan continued by praising past legends as artists who helped shape the game into what it is today, and he closed the idea by saying it isn't fair to label someone the GOAT over players they never even faced. That word, artists, wasn't random at all. Jordan was framing basketball history like a living canvas where every generation adds its own strokes to the masterpiece, and in his eyes, saying the newest strokes erase the earlier ones wasn't just incorrect, it was disrespectful to the art itself. The entire basketball world paused, waiting for LeBron James to respond to what felt like a subtle but direct message from Jordan. But what LeBron did next caught almost everyone off guard. He didn't attack, he didn't fire back, he didn't post any cryptic captions or hidden shots on social media. Instead, he opened up in a way that stripped away years of carefully built public armor. As LeBron James neared the back end of his NBA journey, the GOAT debate with Michael Jordan only grew louder. In a wide-ranging ESPN interview with Dave McMenamin, LeBron finally acknowledged the influence Jordan had on him. "I hope I made him proud at least wearing that number 23, he said. And that one sentence carried the weight of his entire career. 2 decades in the league, 4 championships, the all-time scoring record, 10 finals appearances, all of it condensed into a moment of vulnerability about his childhood hero. "I never have compared myself to MJ because our games are totally different," LeBron added. He explained that he's always been a point-forward type of player, focused on playmaking and vision. Jordan, in his words, was more of a scorer, who looked for his shot first, and that was LeBron drawing the line clearly between their styles, not trying to replace Jordan, not trying to become him, just trying to define himself. "I think I'm one of one," he said. The way he described it, both he and Jordan exist as unique players who can't be duplicated. He called Jordan an unbelievable basketball talent with a legendary mid-range game, and he spoke about studying every detail of Jordan's movement since childhood, how he got to his spots, how he rose above defenders, and how dominant his post-game was. And above all, he highlighted Jordan's mentality, that unmatched will to win that inspired an entire generation. His determination to win.
But LeBron also addressed the elephant that had been sitting in the room for over a decade, his finals record compared to Jordan's perfect 6-0 run. "When I was younger, I used to get caught up in people criticizing me for losing in the finals," he said, "and I used to actually listen to it," LeBron added. "People would rather you don't make the playoffs or lose early than lose in the finals." And then he paused on the part that really stood out, which is crazy to me. Is it because it's me? That question hit different. Was LeBron exposing the emotional weight to being under a microscope for 2 straight decades?
He didn't stop there. "Everybody always has something to say about my career," he continued. "He made 8 straight finals but only won 3. He's the all-time scoring leader but played 23 years. Then he flipped the narrative back. "Yeah, but I'm also the fastest to 1,000 points, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. And slowly, his tone shifted. He admitted that once he realized everything was being used against him, he started viewing the criticism differently. LeBron even called the GOAT debate a tiring barbershop-style conversation. But underneath that exhaustion was something deeper, not indifference, but pressure that had built up for years. Meanwhile, the Oklahoma City Thunder took care of business against the Los Angeles Lakers, sweeping the series and moving on. With that loss, the Lakers' season officially came to an end, leaving LeBron's future wide open. And the timing couldn't have been more intense. LeBron's most vulnerable comments about Jordan dropped right as his season collapsed in real time, almost like 2 storylines crashing into each other at once. Legacy talk off the court, elimination on it. So here we are. LeBron spoke his truth. Shaq responded. Jordan delivered his calculated message, but the real question isn't what they said, it's what all of it actually means. Because at its core, this isn't just about basketball. It never has been. It's about identity, legacy, and the weight of generations trying to define greatness on their own terms. And despite all the noise, one thing is clear. There is still a deep respect between these legends even when they disagree on everything else. If people think Jordan has somehow resented LeBron, they're wrong. It has been rare for the pair to speak about each other publicly, but both are fully aware of each other's greatness and deeply respect what the other has accomplished. And that's the part the headlines never show. That's the part the clickbait completely ignores. Behind all the heated quotes and tunnel rumors, there's still a layer of mutual admiration. Jordan once even made a private phone call to protect the young LeBron James from media pressure. Wilbon recalled Jordan saying, "Hey, take it easy when you talk about this tomorrow. Take it easy on this kid, and here's why." And Jordan actually went on to list reasons why he respected LeBron's game. He didn't have to do that. Before becoming a 6-time champion, Jordan himself endured years of playoff heartbreak in Chicago. He struggled against Detroit, falling short multiple times to the Pistons in the postseason. Jordan understood exactly what it meant to live under that kind of pressure and spotlight. He understood the weight of failure on the biggest stage, and that's why he felt a connection to LeBron, a player carrying the expectations of entire cities on his shoulders. Now, as LeBron moves toward the final stretch of his career, everything feels uncertain. He's set to become an unrestricted free agent after spending 8 seasons with the Lakers. Rumors have linked them to possible moves back to Cleveland or even Golden State, and there's also the real possibility that he could walk away after his 23rd season. After the Lakers' elimination, LeBron even referenced Jordan one last time. He pointed back to Jordan's NBC interview with Mike Tirico and his comments about his still loving the game. Jordan was just talking about his desire for the game still, LeBron said. Even though he's not playing, he still loves the game, and that would never go away. That would never go away. We grow up playing a game we love, and even at the highest level, that feeling never really leaves you, and that becomes the final thread connecting everything. LeBron didn't take Jordan's comments as an attack. He didn't see it as criticism or disrespect. He heard a legend talking about love for basketball. And that love, that pure, unfiltered connection to the game, is something all 3 of them share: Jordan, LeBron, and Shaq.
Even while debating greatness, legacy, and eras, that passion is the one thing they all understand. Jordan's message was never truly an attack on LeBron. It was a boundary, a reminder from a 63-year-old legend saying, "I respect you, I respect your journey, but don't forget the foundation that made all of this possible. Don't use progress as a weapon against those who created the path." Fans will always debate it, but both Jordan and LeBron have consistently said the same thing. They played in different eras, with different styles, under different conditions. Jordan has even dismissed the GOAT debate at times, calling it a pointless question. And maybe, in the end, that's the most revealing part of the entire story. Not that Jordan is angry, not that Shaq is bitter, but that after decades of debating who the greatest really is, the two names at the center of it all have ended up at the same conclusion. The question itself is the real issue. You can't compare a painter to a sculptor and decide which one is greater. You can only step back and appreciate what both of them created. LeBron James is a kid from Akron, Ohio, who once dreamed of being like Mike and ended up becoming something completely different, something the world had never seen before. Michael Jordan is the ghost of Chicago, still lingering in every arena, every highlight reel, and every late-night basketball argument. And Shaquille O'Neal sits right between those two worlds, a man who played with one, battled against the other, and now evaluates both through a lens only he truly understands. The GOAT debate will likely never be settled, and maybe it was never meant to be, because the argument itself is the highest form of respect these players could ever receive. It proves that what they did mattered. It proves their impact still holds weight decades later. And it proves that somewhere, right now, a kid is watching highlights of all three, dreaming of one day being mentioned in the same breath. That's basketball. That's legacy. That's the game.